Hello and welcome to Trading Movies. I'm Junaid,
And I'm Omar.
and today we are talking 2024's Fighter.
Do.
You and I recently went to go watch this movie.
So before we get into the specifics,
Yeah.
let's do a quick non-spoiler. What's your quick non-spoiler initial thoughts after we saw it? We saw a 9 p.m. showing here in Ottawa on Tuesday night. So fresh out of the theater, we had our thoughts, and Junaid's going to share some of his with you.
Yeah, I thought this was a absolute garbage movie. I thought the intentions behind it were poor. I thought the execution was poor, and I thought my feeling as I left the theater was poor. What about you?
Okay, I second most of those things. So I went into this movie having it now. I had an idea of what we were going to see, and it kind of. I had a couple of expectations of this to be a little bit better than it was, and it failed in every category apart from maybe one, which is a very simple category, which we'll get into later.
Okay.
But I want to break this down in two different categories when we review it. Okay, let's talk about first. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room with this movie.
Okay.
It's
the planes.
The planes are one. The aerial combat and the whole plane stuff. Let's just get into that. So Junaid pointed out to me during the movie that he thought the CGI was not well done. Now, there was my issue with the CGI was more so because what they did was they tried to intertwine real shots with CGI, and it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
Like the planes taking off and the planes landing at times were just probably real shots, it seemed, but any aerial combat stuff was very obvious CGI.
Oh my God.
So that contrast, when I knew that, okay, a plane taking off, you just shot that real, and a real pilot just did it, but the aerial combat stuff, you're just doing CGI stuff. It didn't resonate with me. So what do you think about that?
The CGI?
Yeah.
So here's my issue with it, okay, is I did the research. They spent, Here's the Gershon spent time in a cockpit. They filmed him in a cockpit.
Yeah.
Okay? There is a way that you can film this movie to make it realistic. It's the director and the writer and the people behind the scenes who decided, you know what this plane needs to do for no reason whatsoever? He needs to inverse the plane and fly over an airstrip.
Yeah.
You can't, there's no amount of CGI that'll make that look cool.
Yeah.
He didn't need to do that, but they had to make his intro look cool. And then right off the bat, first 5 minutes of the movie, I'm like, I'm out. I'm like, how am I supposed to believe any of this now? Like, it's so useless.
Yeah.
Why did they do that?
See, their ambitions, like their ambitions to do things over the top, just strays away from any type of realism you can put in a movie like this. Like we already know that this is a movie that's unrealistic at the core before we go to watch it. You know, you could say the same about Top Gun.
Yeah.
You know, like they make things look real, but it's unrealistic.
It's not even just that it's unrealistic. It's not needed.
It's not needed. It's not needed.
He's
yeah.
freaking cool.
Yes.
He flies a plane. He's handsome. He has rock hard abs. Okay, why does him flying upside down? Like, what does that add?
There's no need. Like, there's no pilot's just gonna be like, oh, let me just do an inverted land. I mean, it's just, and then why that? See, when stuff like that is put in a movie out of context and out of like just pure stylism kind of thing, it's just it messes with the whole vibe.
See, they were trying to like bite Top Gun Maverick, right? Yeah. But even in Maverick, when him and Rooster go into that like nosedive together, it's because they're beefing. It's not because they're fucking around. It's because they're fighting.
Yes.
It's because they're having an argument.
Yeah.
Right? When he, at the beginning of the movie in Maverick, when he pushes to the limit, it's because the whole point of that exercise is to go faster than Mach 10.
Yes.
Right? And then he, like an idiot, decides to go a little faster and the plane explodes.
Yeah.
My issue with this movie is, again, I've watched many movies with poor CGI. But at least CGI is because the scene is integral to the plot of the movie.
Yes.
If the intro of the movie is filled with CGI, I'm sorry, but I don't even have particularly high standards. I've watched a lot of garbage, but you're going to take me out of it.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
And then further to that, like, there are certain ways you could write the movie where you don't need to make it as extreme as they do. And because of the way they've written the movie, they write themselves into a corner because there's no amount of practical effects you can do. Like, you can't have 8 fighter jets surrounded by 1 Indian fighter jet. It's just not possible to do. You're gonna do some Control C, Control V, so the back ones are the same. Like it looks oh wow, the clouds look the same too. Wow, look at that, right? Like it's okay, I get it, but again, it's a byproduct of you writing yourself into a corner.
Yeah,
it doesn't because you think the audience is too dumb to understand or add more fights or more flames because people want to see that.
Yeah.
Dude, just make the tight movie and it'll be okay. Let the art speak for itself,
Exactly. So yeah, I think CGI, the plane combat, what took me out more, what I would say, than the CGI of the aerial combat was the insistence to have this like cheesy, cringy dialogue between the Pakistani pilot and Hrithik Roshan threatening each other, but the Pakistani pilot, the actor, was just very monotone and like.
Bro, I'm just glad he wasn't wearing a kafia in the cockpit. Bro.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he wasn't wearing a turban in the cockpit because they're like, he's Muslim. You need to know.
But I just feel like that kind of stuff is very unrealistic when you have these like verbal battles in the sky at that level when you're doing all this high flying and like.
Okay, let's go back to Maverick. What do they do in Maverick when he steals the plane? The planes pull up to him, and he's like, my radio doesn't work.
Yeah.
He points to his ear, and then they're giving him hand signals, because guess what? If the radio stops working, they have a universal code of hand signals they use for this particular situation.
Yeah.
Right? They do hand signals. He's like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Like, again, part of the movie, they make it work. And then in this movie, it's like they're having a full-out like rap battle.
Yeah, exactly. And it takes you out because they're childish threats and men in the Air Force don't speak like that.
Yeah, they're talking like it's like penalty shots in grade 5 recess.
Yes, literally.
Like you're talking smack.
And just that whole vibe, like I'm not a fan of that. So that really took me out of those scenes, like more so than the CGI did.
I'll tell you what really took me out though.
Yeah,
the names.
Oh yeah.
You can't watch Top Gun Maverick or any other movie with the Air Force and like you gotta think of some cool call signs. Patty?
Yeah, I would say Siddharth, the director, and we're gonna get to him a bit later, but the director is not really good with names, as we saw from Jim.
Patty.
Yeah, Patty.
As your call sign.
Yeah.
Rocky.
Patty, Rocky, Minnie. And then what was the only one that was NJ?
Again, but that's the letters.
You know
what the worst one was? The Pakistani Red Nose.
Red Nose, yes.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like I can think of like 15 good nicknames. Remember, we were thinking about it before the movie. We were sitting there listing off names. That would be even cooler, bro. If his name is what Patty? Why not just Panther?
Yeah,
great name.
Yeah, that's true. Panther would have been better. We should be working in the.
Like that, no, but legitimately, that took me out of it too.
Yeah,
like, Patty, come down. I'm like, you can't be serious.
It didn't even suit him.
Such a bad name.
It really didn't suit him. So
sounds like an Irish drunk dude. Patty.
So that's our CGI aerial combat names, whatnot. What else? The other thing that I want to talk about with this movie, and we knew kind of going in, but it's the patriotism thing with this movie. Now, I say this like, okay, I like to not come across when I talk about patriotism in Indian movies and in India in general, because like, first of all, we don't live there. We do understand that there's a level of patriotism in India that doesn't really exist in Canada.
Not the same way.
Yeah. Not in the same way. And like, I mean, we've been to America a lot of times, and Americans are a lot more patriotic than Canadians are. Mm-hmm. And Americans, you'll see flags on everywhere. You see them really stand up and cheer on the Star Spangled Banner.
I won't say Canadians aren't patriotic. We're just patriotic in a different way.
In a different way, yeah, right? Yeah. But like with Indian patriotism, it's quite intense.
Oh,
and it's a level that you don't really see here.
This movie is too much, man.
So that's why, like, if that part resonated with people in India, I'm not sure. With the way this movie's been doing at the box office, I don't think it has.
Well, it's because it's not patriotism, dude. They're, like, hammering the patriotism. It's like jingoism.
It's jingoism,
the point of, like, they're basing their entire identity on who they are in opposition to another group. It's not like, I'm Indian because I'm Indian. It's I'm Indian because I'm opposed to that group.
Because I'm opposed to Pakistan.
Exactly. Or the terrorists or whoever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, that's not a good way of forming your national identity based on another group's positions, right? It's not based on your positions. It's based on being anti them.
Exactly. But the cliches in this movie with that whole storyline, like, first of all, the whole thing of Pakistan are the bad guys, but we as Indians oppose the terrorists, not the country.
Yeah.
But just constantly harping that on, like every movie you make about this kind of subject, and you keep saying the same thing, we all know that you're actually against Pakistan.
Well,
Like,
and it's funny they say that, but
Yeah.
then if you look at the movie when they're showing the terrorist leadership, it's like one bad terrorist and then a bunch of ISI and Pakistani military leaders in uniform.
who they make look terrible.
they
make
make
them
dumb
look-
lines.
yeah.
They say stupid things.
Yeah. It's just they give them the worst lines. They try to make them look as scummy as
I
possible.
know.
And it's like we know that that's not the case.
No, but then on the flip side too, then they're like, they fall victim to their ploys. So it's like they're cunning and they're evil and they're so smart. But then every time they display them, it's like, oh, there's a bomb. Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah.
It's like, how can they be both?
Like,
how can
exactly.
how can they both
Yeah.
subject you to this heinous activity, but then they're like so dumb?
Yeah, exactly. So that whole thing I don't like. I don't like, again, the whole cliche. The thing that every Bollywood movie does when it's in around this subject is having a good guy who's Muslim who's killed by the Muslim terrorist, which happened in this movie. Spoiler alert.
Always.
Sorry, but
Always.
was it Bashir? Whose name was Bashir?
Bash.
Yeah, Bash was his call
Only
sign.
one who has a good name.
Yeah.
Only one who has a good call sign, and they kill him off. Bash ko bash kar diya.
So Bash gets killed by the Muslim terrorists, showing that these people. I mean, it's just, I told you a couple weeks ago on our podcast that new show came out, Indian Police Force.
Yeah,
Amazon
you told
Prime.
me, and you told me what the bad guy's name. My wife and some of my cousins were talking about it this past weekend,
Yeah.
and then they told me what the name was of the bad guys, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, but not only the names. Again, it's the same thing where they're killing Muslims, they're against other Muslims. So again, they're trying to show the same narrative. It's like every time it has to be a Muslim terrorist, and it has to be, and it has to be portrayed in a certain way, and it doesn't change from that. So I think the Indian audience has shown right now that that's something they're getting tired of.
Super tired.
Like, it's, give me something fresh. Give me a movie about the military if you want, or a movie about any kind of special agent or whatever you want to do, action film, but make the villain not have to be your cliched Muslim Pakistani terrorist.
It's a little too
And there's
much.
no need for it anymore,
It's
right?
a little too
Yeah.
much.
So that whole thing really takes me out of these kind of movies where, like, okay, we're Indian in the sense, like, our parents are from India.
Yeah.
We've been to India before.
Yeah.
We understand the culture. We eat the food at home.
We talk
We
language.
speak the language at home. We have Indian cultural things that we do. So we are Indian.
Yeah.
But, like, the patriot. I don't want to offend anyone when I say this, but I don't like the cringiness of the patriotism shown in this movie is a bit like, right?
Look, I've said it about American movies too.
Yeah.
There are some American movies which, again, they shoot them with the permission of the American military, so they have like a 3-minute like, America's the greatest goddamn nation in the
Yeah.
world, right? And again, I don't particularly enjoy that,
Yeah.
right? But also, I tolerate a bit of it if it's like, okay, there's one scene.
Yeah.
This movie there's one scene where the helicopter is flying by a convoy, and it's like a 45-second scene of Hrithik Roshan flying the Indian flag while another kid flies the Indian flag in response to him flying the
Yeah.
flag. And then that convoy gets bombed and that kid's all burnt to shit. And it's like, see, look what they're doing to India.
Yeah.
Okay. Then there's a scene of Hrithik Roshan going into the damn boss of an airline and ripping him to shreds because he ignores because he's not happy with his daughter's choice to pick up a Dukon.
Yeah.
Joining the Air Force. And
Yeah.
he doesn't even know that that's the same person's parents. You know how many of that? I think her last name's Rathore. You know how many Rathores are in India?
Yeah.
What if he's just yelling at a random family? But it's like he's going off about that.
Oh,
like,
that scene was way too
off.
long.
And then at the end, when he's killing this guy, he's telling him about the real meaning of Jai Hind.
Yeah,
Like, it's too much.
It's too much.
too much. And this is a long movie.
There was
right?
about 2:45 at least.
And there's like 4 or 5 instances of where India is the greatest. And like, again, I'm not opposed to it if it's part of the film and it's part of the plot.
Yeah.
And obviously these characters are in the armed forces, they believe that. But man, I thought I was gonna walk out there and I thought I was gonna puke the Indian flag. Like, it was so much.
Yeah, the one Hollywood film I can think of that's at this level of cringy nationalism is American Sniper. I'm not sure if you've seen American Sniper.
Yeah, and I didn't particularly like that movie.
Exactly. I wasn't a fan of American Sniper because of its jingoism and stuff as well. But anyway, so that's our take on the patriotism. Story-wise, this is your regular ass. It's beat to death. All the
there's
cliches.
going to be a final fight that's like
Yeah.
incomprehensible.
It's all. I want to talk about the director a little bit.
Okay, tell me.
So Siddharth Anand, if we go backwards right now, Fighter, before this last year was Pathan, before Pathan was War, before War was Bang Bang.
I like all the names of these are just like
One word.
What?
Yeah. before Pathaan was War. Before War was Bang Bang. Now Bang Bang was a 2013 movie with Hrithik Roshan. It was a pretty it was an action movie. I'm not sure. It was it's a Bollywood remake of Tom Cruise's Night and Day. If you've seen that one,
I really enjoyed that movie.
It's a fun movie.
It's such a
him and Cameron Diaz.
Such poor reviews. I remember leaving that movie I got everything I wanted. It's so bad, but it's it's the perfect zone of you don't have to think.
Exactly. So Bang Bang is that. Bang Bang was that, and so Siddharth Anand kind of got on the action map with that movie. And then he made War, which also turned out to be a pretty fun watch, and people enjoyed it. It made a lot of money. 2019, everything, right? But what I've noticed with him is that he sticks to a very generic formula now, and he's trying to. And with every movie that I remember I was looking at a review for Fighter on another podcast actually, and the podcaster said something that I agreed with a lot. That with every new movie this director makes, we're enjoying his movie less and less
because he makes the same movie, over and over.
Exactly.
So I did some research into him as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, I heard that War did really well.
Yeah.
Big movie, right? And then ever since then, it's just been
Well, Pathaan did amazing. Obviously,
Pathaan did amazing. Was it because of him, or was it because of
Shah Rukh
the
Khan?
actor?
Yeah, it's because Shah Rukh Khan. Because Fighter has not done that well. But the reason I brought the director up is because he's been seen defending the movie a little bit. And what I find a lot of people in Bollywood do, and a lot of directors in Bollywood do, is they get defensive when the movie is criticized with one argument they push back on. And they have this one argument they always push back on, which is, when we do it, people laugh, but when America does it in Hollywood, people say it's so great.
I know.
So they think they're not doing anything wrong. But it's if you compare the movies you guys both make, does Hollywood have over-the-top action flicks? Of course they do. But they're done in a much different way than you do them.
And I think it's important to note that America isn't saying they're not lionizing these people as superheroes who are just average. Okay,
yeah.
if there's a guy who's building an entire piece of armor out of a cave, it's because he graduated MIT at 13.
Yeah,
he's a genius.
Yeah,
right. If there's a guy who is running through a damn spaceship and he destroys a spaceship by flying through it, it's because he's Superman.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of a rationale, even though the rationale isn't realistic.
Yeah,
there is a rationale.
There's a rationale, but
it's not just a dude who wakes up out of the bed and punches a hole through the stratosphere.
No, but even forget the superhero movies, because we know they're a different type.
Yeah,
let's talk even about a John Wick. This is not realistic at all, but it's presented in a way which is very entertaining, which is very clearly thought out. In terms of its action sequences and whatnot, one guy cannot beat up and kill 1,000 people at once, but the way they filmed it, the way they've edited it, the way they've choreographed the fight sequences, it's all done in a way where it engages you.
I just think I did a bunch of research on this movie. I pulled up a bunch of stuff, and I can't bring myself to tell you about how bad this movie is. And the only way I can tell you about it is wait till it comes out, watch it at home. Do not give it money. It's not worth going because it's a long time.
Yeah.
Wait till it comes home. Watch his intro sequence, and then you'll understand why I don't take his movie seriously. Because his movie wants to say that these people really care about this country. They care about the defense, and then he treats a multi-million-dollar Russian jet by flying it upside down just to look cool.
Just to look cool.
And he doesn't even know there's a hot girl there at that time.
Yeah. Permission for inverted landing.
At least 2% of me would be yo man, if you knew Deepika was down there, I would totally do that for Deepika. He didn't even know she was there. He just did it.
Okay, that gets us to our one positive of the movie.
Deepika, amazing.
And Hrithik Roshan, the two of them,
beautiful
looking people.
They look very nice. Deepika, I have not yet to see a film I don't like Deepika in. I think she's awesome.
She's awesome. Yeah,
I think she's beautiful, but I think she does the action stuff really well.
She's good at she's good in these types of roles. Yeah, and she's found a niche in that.
I actually think she looked legit as an what was it called, the chopper pilot. I thought she looked legit.
She's got the body for it.
Well, she's also fit, right?
She's fit,
she's
exactly,
genuinely fit. It's not just she's skinny, but she's actually fit.
Exactly.
You know what I didn't like about this movie? So obviously, I didn't. Obviously, I knew that there were border skirmishes between Pakistan and India. I didn't know that the 2019 Palwarna and 2019 Balakot were real events, and they kind of used them in the film.
Yeah.
I was like, we were there for those. I don't really like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's kind of messed up to use like a real event to forward your
Agenda
in that way. Oh, and one more thing. We freaking laughed about this in the movie. But there's an emotional scene where we find out why Rocky, Anil Kapoor's character, doesn't like Patty, which is Hrithik Roshan's character.
Yeah.
And it's because, spoiler, Hrithik Roshan's character used to be engaged to Anil Kapoor's younger sister,
not daughter.
And the whole time in the movie, you think it's his daughter. And then they're like, oh no, he's actually mad young. Because he ends up in a plane in the last sequence. He's flying a plane.
Yeah.
And there's a song where he's singing as well, and it's so weird.
Yeah.
Because they're celebrating, like, bombing a bunch of people, like, killing a bunch of people, and then they're like, yeah, let's have a dance. And you're like, okay, but, like, maybe, like, you know, maybe we've got to fill out some reports after. I don't know. I'm assuming you got to fill some paperwork out, right? If you get pulled over for a speeding ticket, you got to pull out paperwork. You just drop a bunch of bombs in a foreign country, you don't have to fill out anything? There's no, like... What did you spend your fuel on today, Patty? Like,
oh man, that's very true. Yeah, but yeah, the daughter thing took me, but it didn't make sense to me. Why couldn't they just make her the daughter, and why make her the sister? Like, there's no need for that. It doesn't come back in the movie where it makes sense that she's the sister, not the daughter. She could have just been the daughter.
I don't get it. I again, don't watch this movie. Okay, don't watch this movie if you want realism, if you believe in physics, if Sir Isaac Newton is someone you respect. Do not watch this movie. If you want to watch a movie where a bunch of people decide to kill a bunch of other people, and then they have sadness, and then happiness, and then they go back out and kill a bunch more people, this is a perfect movie for you. But other than that, there's nothing I can tell. There's no redeeming quality to this movie. I can't, in good conscience, tell you one good reason to watch this movie.
I have to agree. So
even Deepika is great, but like, is it a reason to watch this movie? No,
it's a long runtime, and it's money out of your pocket. So I would say, if you want to have a good time at home and just watch some plane scenes and some action and just have a background thing on, put the movie on when it comes out. But I wouldn't recommend spending your money and going to see this when I think there's better options.
I had one last comment for you.
Yes.
Okay. Isn't it a little weird how both of his love characters in this movie happen to fly choppers? Like, is a woman not allowed to fly a plane?
That's true. They're both chopper flyers.
Like Phoenix and Maverick. By the way, Phoenix, great call sign. Hint, hint. Flew a plane. Why can't Minnie fly a plane?
Oh man, the names.
It would be great if his name was Mickey. Mickey or Minnie.
Oh man. No, I agree. I don't know why why did both have to be chopper flyers?
Yeah, and also the way the movie ends, they're all like celebrating. It's very much like Top Gun. The difference is in Top Gun, like Maverick, for example, none of their team members dies. In this, like 2 other planes get dropped.
Yeah,
and they're all celebrating. Like you guys, the whole core central tenet of this movie is 2 pilots land in Pakistan. They treat them like garbage. Yeah. Literally, at the end of the fight, like 2 planes drop down. They don't care.
They don't care. Yeah, it's true.
Something's messed up there.
But speaking of Top Gun, because we've been talking about ever since this movie's teaser came out and the concept came out, everyone's obviously Top Gun comparisons are there. So 2 things that really that gave me Top Gun things in this movie.
Okay, tell me.
One was, do you remember this? A couple of the motorcycle scenes that Hrithik Roshan was on was just like Tom Cruise's motorcycle scenes in
straight
Top Gun.
Up, yeah.
It's like straight up, just the cinematography of it.
I think he's driving. Is it a Bullet? He's driving this or a Royal Enfield? But it's a nice bike.
It's a nice bike, yeah. And the other thing, you remember when he's like kicked out after his
he goes to the flight school.
The flight school and
that's
the fight. There was all types, but even the place where he goes to teach his first class.
Yeah, it's like in
that warehouse type place or whatever.
Yeah.
It was like, I was like, wow, this is right out of Top Gun.
Exactly.
So those 2 things really reminded me of Top Gun.
And I'll tell you why it didn't do it for me the same way Top Gun did.
Why?
Both the Top Gun movies do one thing really well, which is they get you invested in the mission, and there is a point in the movie where you don't think the mission can succeed, and then it does, and no matter where you are, what time of day it is, you as the person watching the movie, you grab your fist and you pump it.
Yeah.
Okay? So, like, a great example of that is in Maverick when he finishes the mission and everyone's watching him.
Yeah.
And he does the trial and everyone's like, holy crap, how do you do it? And you fist bump, like, yeah, he freaking did it.
Yeah.
Or when his plane crashes and you think he's about to die, and then Rooster comes and kills that helicopter.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And then at the end of the movie, when Payback saves them,
Yeah.
again, you're like, yes, I love this.
Yeah.
That's 3 significant moments where you're like cheering, you know?
Yeah.
This movie didn't do that at all for me. It
No, it didn't.
And then, frankly, and we didn't talk about this because we didn't really go into the movie that much, but a movie that's about fighter pilots should not end with your fighter pilot in a fist fight with the bad guy. That's not how the movie should end.
No, it's not at all.
That's not what that's not what the movie's for.
Yeah, and I think we have to end. The villain was a huge disappointment for me.
Listen, if you have a red eye, then you're automatically a villain.
No,
okay?
I thought when I saw him in the trailer, I was like, oh, look wise, he looks like he could be decent. But then his acting was so monotone in the film. So I wasn't a fan of the villain. I thought his monotone acting, very clearly reading dialogues, very clearly reading a script, and kind of saying everything in one tone. I didn't like it.
It was bad, and I don't know if he's going to come in another movie. I think all I have to say is if you respect good filmmaking, don't watch this. If you respect your pocketbook, don't waste money on it. And if you respect your time, don't waste your time. You listened to us talk for 26 minutes. We thought we were going to go for 6. So, look, thank you for spending your hard-earned free time with us. Don't watch this movie. If you need to look up anything about it, just Google Hrithik Roshan's abs. That's the only redeeming quality. Thank you.
Take care, guys.